We intend to promote reflections on the relevance of the insertion process of art in social activities. Leher, Swanwick, and Wisnik, among others. We recognize art as an instrument for acquiring culture and a valuable subsidy for the evolution of the individual's emotional and psychological aspects. Combining art and science, we approach artists from the 19th century and early 20th century who already promote a dialogue between both cultures in a substantially artistic and neuroscientific way, anticipating what is now proven in serious and extensive research in both arts. Art is a particular feature of enabling structure to the expression of feelings and emotions. Our absorption and experience through art can portray the understanding we have of the world. We can consider art as a manifestation that characterizes a certain group, as well as costumes, language, clothing. Hence, it is intimately linked to social groups as a means of sign of distinction. Through art, thoughts take shape and ideals of cultures and ethnicities have the opportunity to be appreciated by society as a whole. Thus, the concept of art is linked to the history of man and the world, but is not necessarily tied to a certain context. It is essentially changeable. In this research, we aimed to carry out a cultural and neuroscientific reflection of how important educational procedures and performances of an artistic nature are for the formation and life of human beings. Arts and neuroscience. According to Leher, 2010, artists such as Whitman, poet and essayist of the 19th century, George Eliot, one of the main writers of the English Victorian era, and Marcel Proust, French novelist, critic, and essayist, best known for his monumental novel In Search of Lost Time, defended the necessity of art. When Marcel Proust made the artistic discovery about memory, Paul Cézanne about the process of vision, Gertrude Stein about the structure of language, Stravinsky about the plasticity, Eliot about the biology of freedom, it became very clear that describing the brain demands artistic and scientific cultures. The reductionist methods of science must be coupled with an artistic investigation of our experience. In view of this, we state that science is seen through the lens of art, and art is interpreted in the light of science. Leher, Jonah Proust was a neuroscientist. Artists had their own particular methods of exploring the mind towards art, but despite technical differences, they all shared an abiding interest in the human experience. The creations were acts of exploration, ways of dealing with mysteries they could not understand. Leher, 2010, page 13. Igor Stravinsky, 1882-1971, intuitive modernist composer, declared that our sense of beauty is a plastic sense. The harmonies and choral chains ingrained in our brain are not sacred. For Stravinsky, quote, music is nothing more than a fragment of sound that we learn to listen to, end of quote. Leher, Jonah Proust was a neuroscientist. With his work, The Rite of Spring, Stravinsky announced that it was time to hear something new. This faith in a plasticity of our minds, the ability to adapt to new types of music, was Stravinsky's internal insight. When I was in Switzerland composing Essagrasão, experimenting with dissonant chords on the piano, a neighboring boy used to shout from the window, "It's strong!" Stravinsky ignored it because he knew that the brain with time would correct its incorrectness. The audience would adapt to the difficult notes and discover the beauty contained in his art. Leher, 2010, page 185. Scientific research proves that sound perception is a progressive improvement. Neurons in the auditory cortex repeatedly change according to the habit of listening to music. As we experience art, we can say that nothing is difficult forever. Expression and culture. We think of art through two biases, that of expression and that of culture, distinctly. In expression art, ideas are revealed through different peculiarities and form, while in cultural art, we get an understanding of the description of lives and development of art. Experiences with the arts broaden the possibility of interculturality, that is, of working with different cultural codes. Swanwick, Keith, Music, Mind, and Education. Art and Learning. We observed that the pedagogical practices incorporated to artistic development benefits students by promoting creativity in addition to enhancing their intellectuality. Listening to music stimulates the brain's reward system, which releases dopamine, a natural neurotransmitter that causes a feeling of well-being. Sensory and motor areas are activated, refining hearing, hand-eye coordination as well as memory and attention. Music is related to many brain functions such as perception, emotion, cognition, learning, and memory. Therefore, it is an artistic activity that allows investigating the functioning of the human brain and the interaction between its brain's functions. New discoveries have been observed in the field of cortical plasticity, induced by music training. Hunter C. and Terholz C. SC 2010-11. Plasticity of the human auditory cortex related to musical training. The human brain has an extraordinary ability to create internal mental images. Through neuroimaging studies, it has been demonstrated that the same regions of the brain are activated to see a real scene and to imagine them. The same neural circuits that are activated when executing an action are activated to see someone performing the performance. Mirror neurons cause imitation, a powerful form of learning. Redmond, 2004. Redmond, Rapkin, putting the arts in the picture, education, reform in the 21st century. Bradley, 2002, states that dancing stimulates the development of particularities of creative thinking, such as fluency, originality, and capacity for abstraction. We can then see that artistic schools' activities involving movement, such as dance, music, theater, or sports, are important at all levels, including the cognitive level. Art, society, and education in Brazil. Our country offers copious resources for education through the arts. This form of spontaneous learning has its values due to multiple factors. The wide variety of peoples in our lands contribute richly with their habits, language, and culture, promoting a lively and dynamic intercultural relationship, preserving their traditions and values in each region. In this way, we gain relevant cultural subsidies that result in expressive, communicative innovations through the art of the Brazilian people. Wisnik, 2004, presents a relevant observation regarding the possible repercussions that music can awaken in society. Conceived as a very regulating element of the cosmic equilibrium takes place in the social equilibrium. Music is ambivalent and aggravating centripetal power of great pedagogical utility in the formation of citizens suited to the harmony of the polis, and, at the same time, a dissolving, desaggravating power, centrifugal, capable of destroying the social order. For this very reason, it is a decisive element on the political pedagogical level. Wisnik, 2004. Music has the power to stimulate human beings, consciously or unconsciously. In this particular sense, character and uprightness are indispensable. Final reflections. It is essential to stimulate the cult of the arts from childhood through activities that stimulate imagination, vocabulary, expansion, motor activities, and sociability. The human being, when inserted in a social context, integrated to the arts, expands his knowledge. The arts are an important motivational factor for stimulating creativity and neutralizing barriers. The remarkable purpose of the arts in education can only be understood and committed to the extent that it is recognized as an enriching agent of the mind in a broad sense. Art establishes a universal language open to all. It is important to highlight the significance of artistic experiences as extremely collaborative educational process for awakening human beings to life and culture. We consider important the continuous attention and reflection on the attitude of providing opportunities for new paths so that everyone can grow and shine in a new horizon of life.